Hello, my name is Alicia Shapiro with AInews.com, and welcome to another episode of our Driving Tomorrow Conversations with Industry Leaders, where we explore the latest developments and newest innovations in the world of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm joined by Jeremy Ventura, Field CISO and Cybersecurity Strategist at Myriad 360, a global systems integrator and trusted technology partner for organizations navigating cloud, AI, cybersecurity, and data center modernization. With more than 1,000 successful cybersecurity implementations and a wide range of global customers, Myriad 360 has become a leader in helping enterprises stay ahead of evolving cyber risks. Jeremy brings deep expertise advising Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and startups, with expertise spanning API security, email security, vulnerability management, and incident response. He's also a sought-after speaker and commentator, regularly sharing insights on emerging threats and the future of cybersecurity. In today's conversation, we'll explore the risks of unmanaged AI use in the enterprise, why banning AI may actually increase risk, and how CISOs can design policies that balance security with business innovation. So thank you for joining us today, Jeremy.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Alicia.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad to have you here. You've said before that banning AI can sometimes backfire, driving usage underground and creating shadow IT problems. Can you explain why outright bans often do more harm than good?
Absolutely. I think we need to start by looking at and realizing as a society and in the tech industry that AI is here and AI is here to stay.
Yeah.
And so I do think it's here in the sense of that as organizations, we need to not be looking at how to ban this or not allow our employees to use it, but rather how do we enable our work staff to become more productive? And it's only going to help the business drive better revenue,
Right.
drive better productivity. And so I really don't believe that outright bans within an organization actually eliminate AI. I actually think what happens is they push employees to use their personal devices or use unmanaged applications or unvetted tools and technologies, which becomes a massive headache down the road for security and IT teams when it comes to how do I secure AI or what are my employees doing? So it creates the shadow AI or shadow IT concept creates organizations or helps security teams when it comes to detection, when it comes to monitoring, when it comes to securing actually the applications or the usage of AI because they don't know what they don't know. So if we ban it outright, what happens? I always use the analogy, it's like having a teenager and say, nope, you can't have that sip of beer. What
Yeah.
happens more times than not? They usually have more than one sip. And so
They find a way. Yeah.
exactly. They'll find a way around it. And I think that's exactly where we're at right now with AI and how it gets adopted in organizations, where if we ban it and we say, no, you can't do that, what's going to happen? Our employees are still going to find out ways to use their devices or laptops to go to things like ChatGPT and enter information that maybe they shouldn't be entering or that is not managed correctly.
Mhm. And when employees are using AI to compress those days of work into minutes, security teams are sometimes looked at as blockers and no, you can't do this or that. How can CISOs set policies that actually get followed without eroding that trust?
Yeah, for sure. And you hit it on its head right there, where I think traditionally security has always been looked at like the guys and girls in the basement with the black hoodies, and this is the Department of No.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to get something done, security is always, no, you can't do it. And I think that culture, first of all, has to change, where security in general is really in the business of enabling businesses to take risk rather than being the Department of No. And so with that, when I think about that word enablement, I think about how AI gets incorporated into that. We need to enable the business to leverage AI and our employees to leverage AI so we can take risk, manage those risks, whatever they might be, effectively and efficiently. And so when it comes to that, I think what I've seen kind of work in the last 3 to 6 months and even a little bit longer than that is when AI and security can become a partnership within the business units inside of an organization. So can I co-create an AI policy? So actually, this is one thing I was talking to a customer earlier today where they have a concept of doing almost like an AI committee. And so they have business leaders from different areas, from HR, from finance, from legal, from security, from IT. They all meet regularly and they share ideas about how their teams or their staff within their business units are you leveraging AI to better the business or to better make more productivity out of their work life? And so once you start to actually build, you see it, you're building a culture where everyone kind of has a say or a seat at the table, especially as AI is so new and it's kind of transforming everything we do. And so if you can create that co-partnership and mindset and that culture, Then we start doing that crawl, walk, run. We now start to build that culture in there where we're now providing hopefully safe, sanctioned alternatives rather than, again, somebody going to their personal device and just saying, oh, I downloaded ChatGPT and let me put my information in, rather than, can I get the enterprise license for some of these AI copilots? Or is AI embedded within my security or other productivity technologies where now it makes sense for the business rather than, again, just saying, oh, I'm creating a policy. What happens with policies, right? We all start jobs. We go through our onboarding with HR. We go, yep, we're so excited to start the job. You click, you don't even read what's in that policy. Never mind, usually AI to this day has usually been a little blurb, even if it's even in there. So now I will say policies are usually just words on a piece of paper that sit in a binder or some HR system, and employees don't really look at them unless they have to. So again, how do we get from the paper world of just the clickbait to how do we actually start to incorporate this again and building that culture and that co-partnership within business units?
I think that's so smart to have that co-creation process, because then you're getting the perspectives from the different areas of the business, not just the tech side or whatever. And I think that's so smart, because there's sometimes, as smart as tech people are, they don't always understand the rest of the side, and they don't know what they don't know. So it's nice to have that input. But you mentioned with the employees using AI on their personal devices and unvetted platforms, do they maybe not realize the risks that they're taking on with using, oh, I'll just put my information in here, like you said, and get my work done that way? What kind of risks are present when unmanaged AI is going on for organizations?
Yeah, there's a lot,
Yeah.
right? Open up the can of worms here where, to your point, I think if we take the security mindset out, we leverage AI pretty much in almost everything we do. This
Yeah.
morning, I just flew back earlier this week and I landed in San Francisco. And San Francisco now has AI robots that are coffee baristas.
Oh,
And
fun.
going to actually Starbucks or Pete's or Dunkin' Donuts, you now can order through this machine and it's got the robotic arms and it makes 99.9% apparently accuracy on your coffee every single
Wow.
time. And so when we think about that, that was a real life use case I had right down the street. I actually have not, I try to watch my figure, but I have a Taco Bell.
Mhm.
And Taco Bell, now when you go through the drive-through in a lot of the locations, it's not even a human that talks to you when you get to the drive-up window. It's actually an AI chatbot and it has a name and it says, hi, Jeremy, what would you like to order today? You order your tacos or Crunchwrap Supreme, you can make all the modifications and it says, thank you, there's an order pull up. And so when I think about this and how we use it on an everyday basis or how it's just present with us, sometimes what happens is we leverage it. Technology goes so fast, security is always falling behind. And we've seen a
Yeah.
lot of those memes or charts over the years where security is always like with the shovel, trying to pick up way after the technology started flying. And I think when we look at the risks, I think the first thing I think about is just data in general, data exfiltration specifically. And when individuals are inputting or entering information into some of these open AI tools, sometimes they're not thinking. They're not built with security in the mindset. They're not thinking about, oh, can I put this person's social security number in, or this company private information, or this customer of mine's information in there. And so we've always had this data problem.
Mhm.
AI now is just accelerating it so fast where organizations and security teams are struggling, trying to figure out, okay, we're just starting to maybe get our grasp on DLP, data loss prevention, and data exfiltration. Now we have AI. So now we have all these new SaaS applications and tools where employees, everyone now is just entering information. And I think we've got data exfiltration issues. I think when it comes to intellectual property. So again, there was a use case that I heard recently where a company was just about to acquire another organization, and the CFO of that organization put all the company financial information of this new company into ChatGPT. He performed his board presentation, was like, this is all the key benefits of everything I need to do. And the CISO and CTO were sitting in the room and they're like, this doesn't look like your presentation style. And also, like, these bullet points look very professional. Not that the CFO wasn't, but they said, this looks interesting. Hey, where did you get this information? Oh, I just used ChatGPT.
Oh
And
my
they're
God.
like, you put all of this private information, like they're still going through all the government regulations to acquire this company, into a tool. And so it's, while that made you more productive, like you just leaked all this information. And who knows, with a lot of these platforms, is the data actually secure? How is
Yeah.
this getting Where is it stored? What is it going to be used for training their models later down the road? And we're seeing a lot of that. And so I think when we come to data, we come to the visibility aspect of what we're doing, and then to tie in the third part, compliance and regulatory compliance. So now, we've seen different government agencies, including the United States, come up with different types of AI frameworks and how to build and the best practices. There's a lot of nations right now across the world that aren't even close. And so what happens when these tools and technologies get in their hands? And so I think I want to be cautiously optimistic, but we are flying so fast and the risk is increasing every day.
Do you think education with some of the employees or even maybe leadership would help with mitigating some of that risk? Because if I was just a low level employee at some company, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use ChatGPT to get my work done faster and then I can go home faster or whatever. And they don't realize, hey, no, this is proprietary information. We're in the middle of an acquisition. We can't disclose this. And here's why, and different things. Do you think that would help at all? Or is that just a small portion of it?
I definitely think it will help, but I also do think it is both answers. I do think it will help. I think it is the responsibility of security and technology leaders to make sure we're educating, make sure the awareness is up. So whether you're using security awareness training technologies and tools, whether you're doing something, I've heard another organization where they do monthly, they call it the brown bag lunch, where they
Mm.
still go into an office location, whether it's office location or even for companies out there that are listening to this, even if it's over Zoom or Teams or some type of video conferencing, like doing quarterly or monthly, quick 20-minute, 30 minutes of, hey, how are you using AI?
Mhm.
Okay, by the way, and then you get the security or IT leader on set. Okay, that's great for everybody else, right? Make sure that if you want to use these tools, you're opening tickets or you're using it responsibly. So we have to continuously educate and aware, just like we have been doing for the last 30 years when it comes to phishing emails, right? Are you going to click that email when it looks a little suspicious? Same thing with AI. Think twice. Should I actually be entering this information into this tool? Or should I maybe get approval from security or IT within my organization to take those steps? So I definitely think it is crucial. It is definitely fundamental into how organizations should be thinking. But I do think it is still just the beginning fundamental aspects. There are other things that I think organizations should be doing.
And we've already mentioned shadow AI and shadow IT, but can you maybe go into a little more detail about that parallel and what lessons security leaders can draw from the history of shadow IT?
Yeah, Shadow IT has been here for a very long time, where I think it taught the industry that no matter what, employees are going to find the tools or things necessary to get their work done faster and smarter, even if security says no. What's happened is whether security said, no, you can't use that tool of technology, you can't go to that website, you can't use your personal device for X, Y, and Z. What do humans do? They always bend the rules. They find out how to do it, right? Because they know that would take me 6 hours rather than 6 minutes. So of course I'm going to try to figure out how to do the 6 minute project. And Shadow IT has caused chaos because security and IT teams don't know where anything is. So I will say you can't protect what you don't know. And so if you've got data and applications and humans doing everything in your organization, you don't have visibility into it, forget it, right? You can't
Yeah.
secure it if you don't know, and then something happens. So that parallel has only excelled and got expedited once AI really became into the picture. Now, again, going back to what we said, it is a true parallel, but I think it's to a whole different level and scale because now AI can be created so quickly. AI can create products. AI can create applications. AI can help you do whatever you want to do. So when I talk about shadow IT, the shadow IT problem just becomes way worse now because AI is typically an application in itself. And it is frightening to see how fast it's accelerating. I think it's exciting. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely exciting. And I know we'll get into kind of attackers versus defenders, but I also think from the risk of it, if we don't sanction, we don't enable secure options for our employees, and we don't get that visibility tied to governance and framework, we're going to be in not a good state.
I don't know if this applies too much on the cybersecurity end or security end in general, but I know other industries, employees are a little afraid to use AI still in their job. On the other hand, sometimes they're going to find a way to use it. And then on the other hand, they don't want to use AI because of it might take their job away or whatever. And how do you get that buy-in while protecting the safety of the company? Do you have any
Absolutely.
insights on that?
Yep, it is interesting you say that because I was just having this conversation too
Oh,
about the employee that, and this could be multiple different reasons. It could be just not a believer in AI and technology. To your point, they might think it's coming after their job. It could be a generational thing. I know I can speak
right.
for family members. They're like, AI. It's like, I still have a flip phone.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not using this. And
Mm,
so this stuff. And I think again, it goes back to a little bit of education. If you can, I always like in security in general, I also like this concept of crawl, walk, run. So
mhm.
when you're embedding AI within your organization or even to family members, crawl. So just this is the AI tool. This is how we secure it. This is how it's safe. This is how you shouldn't use it. This is an example of how you could use it. Sometimes
Mhm.
you spark some interest, like, oh, cool. It actually could make my job a little bit easier in
Yeah.
this specific area. Or for the parent or a grandparent that says, wow, actually, I didn't know that I could go in my refrigerator and say, I have eggs, tomato sauce, orange juice, onions, peppers. Give me 3 ideas of what I could make.
Yeah. That
Actually, that's, yeah,
that is the cool part of AI.
that is the cool part.
I don't know how many times I've asked for recipes from ChatGPT.
I do all the time as well. I do
Yeah.
all it helps you. And I think it's like I had a coworker say this to me just yesterday too. I think it's AI, the way we're using it, that crawl aspect of it, to my analogy here, is can it get your thoughts thinking faster right from the beginning? It's every human's a little different. And so sometimes it's hard to sometimes collect your thoughts. And I remember back in the day, it's okay, you got to write this 5 by 5 essay in 30 minutes. And you're like, go. And you're like,
Yeah.
where do I start? And you start writing, you're racing. And I'm like, once you get going, then you get in that flow.
Mhm.
But that beginning part of boom, that's how AI can actually make you more productive. It can set the stage to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, I think we're in the stage now of the crawl, walk, run, and how we can do that. So crawling by training the awareness of it. I think walking, then you start to embed it. You start to put guardrails around it, so you still allow it to happen. And I think the run. I think the run aspect, in which I want to hit on, is there's two different ways to look at this, but I think the running aspect is, especially in security. So can AI and the human work together?
Mhm.
So I don't think I'm going to make the hot take right now, and this will probably, hopefully, maybe change in 2 years, but I don't think AI is going to replace humans. I think what we need to do is we need to embrace it, but also figure out how do we leverage it to the best of our ability so we're more productive. Use it as a tool rather than being scared about, oh my God, it's going to replace my job. I'm not going to have a job. I don't think it's that. I think we've seen organizations, and this is the biggest companies in the world have had massive layoffs recently, and that's a real story. Some people will come and, oh, it's because AI, it's because of AI. Not necessarily. I think what's happening is AI is enhancing what we can do in other areas and departments. And so we as humans, technology, security, even just if you're working in HR, figure out how can I leverage it in a safe, responsible way to make me and the business more productive.
That's so smart. And from your vantage point, working with clients from all across all industries, can you share an example of a company or whatever that navigated AI adoption and maybe one that ran into trouble?
Absolutely. There's a lot of stories on definitely the trouble aspect.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But from a success story, there was a financial services company that I was working with recently, and they came up with a project to Myriad 360, and they said, we want to start to embed AI. What is your thoughts? What are other customers doing? What does it look like from an industry standpoint? And when you can either have a partner or you can rely on experts that maybe you don't know yourself. And I think that's where we're at realistically right now, where I think everyone's talking about AI. I
Mhm.
wonder what the percentages. I can't imagine it's actually very high of organizations truly embracing AI.
Yeah.
And so I think if you can find partners or you can educate yourselves and your teams on how to do that, the better you're off. So creating things like, again, going back to security awareness and security training, or AI awareness and AI training, even better. And then you're always thinking about, what is this doing? I always say, and I'm always not skeptic, but I always ask the question to myself, why? So if we're going to leverage AI, why? What does it mean for the business? If HR wants to use AI because it can comb through 1,000 candidates faster, why? Is that going to save us time? But you can see we all still need a human at the end of the day. At least right now, we still need a human to still have that brain processing power to actually make critical decision making. For example, in that financial services, they said we want to embed AI. So we came up with a clear kind of governance and framework package of what this looks like for your industry. Here's different, like NIST right now has come up with, here's our AI top recommendations, how you actually implement this. We looked at that. We looked at other controls, implementations within their company to figure out what does it actually mean? How do you comply it? And then what does it mean to actually start to spread the web within your organization So people are actually leveraging it and using it correctly. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just for security. It can be anything. And that company now has embedded what we call agentic AI security operations. So not replacing the tier one analysts, but taking all the tier one analysts and promoting them up to tier two and
Oh,
tier three, paying
yeah.
them more money. And what they said is we can use this agentic AI tool to take off all those low fidelity alerts. We know if we're looking for the color red and it comes in blue, we need to do something with that, right? That's not right. We're only looking for red. So if it's blue, let's put it in that pile. We didn't need a human to spend 60, 80 hours in the security operations center doing that. And so I think that's how we're going to do it. So I do think like success is like, how do we effectively implement it? But again, you're also not, again, I'm very strong on this. You're not firing or laying off employees. You're accelerating, promoting them, enabling them how to become more productive within their job.
I think that is spot on because when you can promote the employees and give them maybe a little bit of a pay bump, they're going to have the incentive to do better and do more as well. I just think that's smart. And then also, you were mentioning some of the organizations maybe haven't even implemented AI yet. And I think that's true for the smaller businesses. Like the enterprises are just now implementing the AI. And I think it's going to take a year or so before it gets down to the small businesses. And so right now, I think it's advantageous for the small businesses to start paying attention and looking and learn what these enterprises are doing and what's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them so that they can start planning now and be able to implement everything in a responsible way, like you said.
Definitely. And I know you to answer that second part of the question where like the horror stories. I know we sprinkled a couple in through the interview already, but when organizations are blocking or security teams and IT teams are blocking users for use it, again, they're going to go around it and then they're going to discover something way later. So for example, a healthcare company said, we're healthcare. We've been around for 105 years as one of the biggest hospitals in this area. We're not leveraging AI. We're not leveraging AI. We did an AI security assessment where we brought a tool and technology in to scan the environment to see what are all the AI applications in your environment. CISO security leaders like, we don't make it permissible. How do you know? Because we help people know. Okay, we found you can imagine almost every doctors, nurses, front desk receptionists, like electrical maintenance workers that work full time in the healthcare facility, all leveraging AI. It's like, okay, I went to school for this is the actual example. I went to school for 30 years. I have my electrical license. I know how to fix light bulbs, but that's a different one. So let me take a picture of it, put it into ChatGPT and say, how do I fix this? What's the fastest way? Should I use putty? Should I change the wiring? Do I need to drill a hole into the wall? And the security team was like, you saw their eyes light up. So when you're just have that negative or no thing, I get it, right? We've
Yeah.
been working all these years without AI and now we have it. Again, I think it's about how do we embrace this? How do we enable it? Everyone feels comfortable using it. And so we're not dealing with huge data breaches or that shadow AI and shadow IT issue down the road.
In your example, I can imagine the security teams just being flabbergasted that an electrician might use AI.
They were. I think they were thinking like, oh, the doctors definitely don't use AI. They don't use AI. And then sure enough, the
Even transcriptions or just to make notes, or now you're got patient data in there.
I actually saw it was just this week or late last week where OpenAI, ChatGPT's CEO, they did an analysis, I think a year back, and they looked at how what was the number one category of prompts that people were putting in. Number one was health.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so putting in health information. And so, especially for those healthcare organizations out there, hate to break it to you, everyone's already using it inside
There,
your organization too.
yeah. Start preparing now. Start fixing things. Yeah. Because that is, you can't be a healthcare company and then have your employees put in customer data or information about their health and thinking it's fine and it's not. So, yeah,
Right.
wow. There's a lot. There's a
There
lot to
is.
think
There is.
about for sure.
We could be here for hours if we wanted to be talking
Yeah.
about
Looking ahead, how do you see the role of AI evolving in cybersecurity? Maybe both as a tool for defenders and as a weapon for attackers.
Definitely. And I think we're living through it right now. I do believe we are just scratching the surface with
Hmm.
AI, what we're seeing out there. I'll start on the attacker side. For a hacker and attacker, AI is absolutely lowering the barrier of entry point into an organization. Actually, there was a video that was created of me that's shared on my LinkedIn where a company that we partner with created a deep fake of me.
Oh,
Um, it,
wow.
it wasn't actually me. It was me in a podcast, at a webcast very similar to this, but they dug my voice, and I am not Italian, nor can I speak Italian. And in the video, they had me speaking half English and half Italian. And I got a lot of attention because they were like, oh my God, wait, is that actually you? I'm like, nope, that's not me, but this is the power of it. And I think it took them maybe 5 minutes to create that video.
Yeah.
So that, which is wild. And so
Yeah.
I think for attackers, when it talks about deepfakes, and that's voice, that could be images, that could
Mhm.
be video, that could be audio. I also think when it comes to, it's definitely changing the world of phishing emails. Remember back in the day
Yeah.
where you get that phishing email, historical, the Nigerian scams,
Oh,
where you
right.
see
Yeah.
it, and it was like the sentence ended here, but the period is like three spaces after, and then that's misspelled, that's capitalized, that shouldn't be, the subject's there. It was somewhat easy for the average individual to be like, that looks a little suspicious. Now, I can just go into ChatGPT or any of these tools and say, create me a fake email. I want to pose as this. I want to know everything about Jeremy Ventura and like what he likes and what he doesn't like. And then give me a good email where I think he would click in it. You can do that today.
Yeah.
And for the attackers, they're just accelerating of how fast they can get it. And that's just phishing. That's social media, as we talked about, even the
Mhm.
more technical stuff. How do I create malware? How do I create code faster? How do I reverse engineer malware? So we're just scratching the surface, but we have to, as a security industry, technology industry, acknowledge that attackers are definitely using it today, and they're going to be continuing to use it. Now, on the flip side, defenders, we mentioned that story about agentic AI SOCs, and we've seen security operations centers. We're seeing a lot more agents being deployed within organizations. Just security tools in general are now
Mhm.
starting to incorporate AI, even if it's something as I want to pull a report from the last quarter that shows me all the false positives have that related to Microsoft. Show that to me. Easy. Before you would have to go in these tools and click the filter button. That report doesn't look right. Sort it out. Pick that. Now you can just type into these AI chatbots, even within some of these technologies, and get what you need faster. That's one way. I also think defenders are AI supercharges us. So when it comes to triaging, as I mentioned, that tier one, tier two, tier three, when it comes to looking at low fidelity alerts, when it comes to anomaly detection, even things like predictive threat hunting or threat intelligence. So based upon my environment in the last year, using AI to predict what potentially could happen if something went wrong or what the new threat is going to be based upon my industry. So I do think we're leveraging AI at light speeds right now, but just having that, I also call it, it's like history repeats itself again. It's like an arms race. So it is an arms
Right.
race of attackers, defenders, and who's going to use AI better, faster, more discreetly to win the arms race. And it's going to be an interesting couple of years. I think when like 2 to 3 years ago, we weren't even AI was there, of course, but we weren't talking about it like we are now. Of course not.
Um,
So 2 to 3 years from now, going back, I now have a robot making my coffee. I now
yeah.
can get to a Waymo. I don't need a driver. I can go to a call center, and now I'm talking to a chatbot rather than an actual human. It's interesting. We are just scratching the surface. So it will be very interesting to see what the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years look like.
I think so too. It's exciting and scary at the same time.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to CISOs and maybe IT leaders looking to build realistic AI governance frameworks?
Absolutely. So I definitely think going back to that analogy, I know I'm repeating myself, but the crawl, walk, run. I think if you can look at that strategy and also combine it with people, process, technology, those
Mhm.
concepts that we've all had. So when I'm crawling, what does that mean for people? So how do I educate people when it comes to process, creating a framework, creating a policy, but remember doing it in a co-partnership with other business units of how we're doing that. And
Yeah.
then even from the technology, okay, from a technology, do I allow users to use OpenAI or any of these tools or developers to leverage it? And then you start walking. So then you start going up the next thing. So how do I walk versus people process technology? How do I run against people process technology? Start to build it that way. It takes time. That's for
Mhm.
sure. It's not something that can happen overnight. Even though AI sounds like and feels like it happened overnight,
Yeah.
building these governance frameworks and policies, procedures, and actually the culture of AI and security takes time. Definitely, there's so much open source information out there. Like I said, I mentioned NIST earlier has a great AI governance framework that can help organizations, especially for those organizations that don't have the resources or don't necessarily have the education on how do I secure AI or my employees of AI. And then even for the more mature organizations and complex organizations, AI is, we're just, for the most part, I've been talking about AI from a end user standpoint, but how does AI get incorporated into our products that we develop? And so from developers, when we're creating LLMs, when we're creating code, where am I pulling that code from? How do I leverage AI? Am I securing it? So that whole software development lifecycle, SDLC, and that CI/CD pipeline we've been talking about for years, just like shadow IT. Now, how does AI get incorporated to that? So how do we still secure the products that we create? Never mind the end user putting in what's in my fridge and what should I make for dinner tonight. So it's a balance of both.
Yeah. And I don't know, from your perspective, from cybersecurity and IT, is there a certain LLM that's better that people or businesses should probably use because they're built different and maybe more safeguards are built into it? Or do you have an opinion on that?
I don't think there's one better than the other. And I
Okay.
think this is flipping it a little bit because people, so this is interesting, this concept, using AI to build AI. We are in a point right now where we can see it every single day. I scroll my LinkedIn page or read news articles, and I'm like, there's a new AI company. There's a new AI company. There's a new AI. There's hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands probably out there right now.
Yeah.
And all the incubator ones that are happening right now of the two people that are sitting in their office as we speak saying, I could solve this with AI. So, or this LLM, for example, to answer your question. So I wouldn't necessarily say there is one specific one. I definitely think, though, my recommendation to answer that question is just because a product, a company is saying, oh, we leverage AI, we can go into a security conference or technology conference. Every single company has to mention AI, has to have it on their booth. Now, just because they say it, does it necessarily mean they actually do it? They do it securely, they do it effectively for your business. So that's my recommendation. So while there might not be one specific LLM that I'll name, definitely vet, scope it, test it, figure out where's your data, what happens to my data. Do you use my data to train your models? What does that look like if I don't become a customer with you? Do you still own my data? So all those little questions that we've already been doing from a GRC, from a risk quantification aspect, apply that to AI, especially as you're looking at AI or technology that is leveraging AI.
I like that what you said. Ask yourself about the data and what happens to it if they aren't a customer and do they still have the data? And I know there's companies where you can turn that, oh, I don't want my data being used for training purposes. You can turn that off. But it's not just your data, it's your client's data, it's the company that you're working for. It's you may not be putting anything of value from yourself, but what are you exposing with from your clients and your company
Exactly.
that you may not think about because it's not your data.
You're exactly right. It's exactly right.
And I always love to ask before we wrap up, when you do step away from your work, what are some activities or hobbies that you're passionate about?
Ooh, I would say there's two. There's two that I like to do. I travel. I am on the road all the time, especially in my role, helping customers and prospects and partners and our internal teams learn about topics like this and help educate them. So I'm traveling all the time. I also like traveling for my own personal time as well. So I love to explore different countries, whether that's in the Middle East, whether it's in the Caribbeans, Latin America, Europe as well. So I love traveling. Definitely have the travel bug. It's kind of built inside of me. The second thing is which is a really interesting concept that I've been noticing there's a lot more. I'm a musician as well
Hmm.
at heart. And so I was a percussionist and drummer way back, starting at 8 years old, and have done it ever since, whether it's jamming out on the side or even doing music education. And so I think there's a interesting parallel that I've noticed with a lot of technology people and security people of there's a big artistic background. It doesn't have to be music, but whether it's artists, whether it's there's that creative side of the brain. And yeah, music. So I love to listen to music, go to concerts, drum myself. But yeah, I would say travel and music.
I love that you said music because I always just love to ask that question just because I think it gives our audience a peek into your life and get a chance to know you a little bit more. But I
Absolutely.
have also noticed that a lot of the business leaders that I'm interviewing also are in music in some regards. So I think you're right. The tech side is the logical, scientific side, and then you want to use the rest of your brain for the creative side. And I think that's awesome.
We live in a world where there's, especially as a security professional, a lot of stress in our jobs. And so I think having that getaway or whatever that means or that out is super important. So I think music, you'll see it's a lot, kind of soothes the soul.
It does. It makes you feel better. It picks you up. It's your friend no matter what. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeremy, thank you for sharing your perspective today on the risks and realities of AI adoption. It's an important topic, and I know our audience is going to appreciate this. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And if anyone wants to learn more, you can visit their website at myriad360.com. Keeping you connected to tomorrow, today, this is Alicia with AInews.com.